Here's how you can data sync with Brick River. So the first thing we're going to talk about is getting data into Brick River. So the first thing you could do is, and there's three ways actually. There's importing, just uploading a CSV. The second way is using a tool called the BR importer executable to run a SQL script and shoot that up. And the third is to just post up a CSV file. So the first thing you need to do is you need to go to admin, and then you have to go to imports, and you create an import. And this is basically like articulating a way to get into Brick River. So I'm just going to call it sync people. Okay. Then you pick a table or a view, any of them, and I'm going to go and I'm going to pick people, and then I'm going to run it as some administrator here. And then there's different matching modes. So like, are you going to match off of an ID? Like, do you already have the Brick River ID? In which case you do that. Is it some external data source? So, I'm just going to call it, my, whatever, my external database, right? And it's just some name. And then that would mean that you'd have your own ID, and then you would dedupe based upon that. Or if you don't have any of those things, then you can just use the deduping fields that will, it will match based upon that, which is usually first name, last name, and email. Okay. Then you decide what you want to do. Do you want to update records? Only update, or are we going to, add records? Only adding records. Or we're going to update. And then deleting is dangerous because basically, let's say you've got 10,000 people records. And then what this thing would do is it would shoot the data in, but anything that's not in the sync or the import that you run will then be removed. So that's dangerous. Do you require the ID? And then aggregating relations is basically about, let's say Joe Schmo is connected to the weekly news subscription list, but then you also want to connect him to the ballpark news subscription list. If you don't check this, it's going to disconnect him from the weekly news one and only connect him to ballpark. But if you aggregate relations, it's going to keep him connected to the things that he's connected to. All right. So I'm going to hit save. So now what happens is, let me just click on this. So I could just upload a CSV, right? That's the simplest way. Boom, I can just upload the data, right? Or if you want to set up a data sync, this is your URL right here. This is your URL, and you shoot the data in, create a scheduled task or something on a server and shoot it in nightly or weekly or whatever it is. And then you have to prepare it in this format. The fields have to be named this way, and it's case sensitive, okay? And there's instructions here, but basically you post the data to this URL. And then take a look over here. If we look at the file system here, and okay, so here's the file system, and if I am looking at, there's this executable that we created that's a BRT importer. And so what you can do is, if you have a SQL database, you can simply create a SQL script, and then yeah, that's all you need is a SQL script. And hold on a sec. Okay, I'm back. So basically, you in this BRT importer thing, you can basically run an executable. You can put this on your server, and then what you have to have is two things. You have to have a SQL script. So let's say you just create a basic SQL statement that's like select these fields. You got to select them as what they need to be named. So as first name, as last name, as ID. Actually, it has to be like this: ID. Email is email, and then you just save that in someplace. And then this is a bat file that you're going to run that basically just, executes the BRT importer. It, you have to put your connection string information in here. You have to say what SQL file you're going to run, which is this one. And then it's the URL that you're going to post to, which is that URL that you saw before, this one right here. Okay? So that's, and if you were to just simply double click on this thing, actually double click on this bat file, you have to rename it to a bat file. If you double click on it, what will happen is this tool will execute that SQL script. It will then create the CSV file behind the scenes, and it will post it to that URL for you. This is the easiest because you don't have to, create a CSV file. All right, so then the next way to do it is using something like curl, you can just post or put a file to that URL that you were given, to this URL right here, right? And in this case, you get, curl. I think that there's other ways of other tools that will post files for you. We've used curl, and basically this is a situation where you already have the CSV. Like maybe there are some instances where we pull down data via FTP from some other system. We then modify it in some way using like a CSV fixer tool. And then we've got a CSV. And then what we do is we use curl to post that data to Brick River. So, you'd have the executable, you'd have whatever the CSV file is, and then again, it's a similar kind of a thing. Basically, you're telling curl to execute, and then, get this file and post it to that URL, the one that we had looked at before. Okay, so those are the 3 ways that you can get data into Brick River. Okay, now let's look at getting data out. So to get data out of Brick River, what you want to do is create a publish. Okay, so let's say I wanted to have all of the people feed over to some other system that's going to go and grab the people nightly. Maybe you're letting people sign up online or something, or letting people change their information. What you can do is you can go under more and you can create publish data, and then you can say people feed, whatever you want to call it. And now this data is available at these URLs in different formats. So you just ask for it as a CSV, HTML, JSON, Excel, or XML. And it's going to be whatever fields you've chosen. So like, let's say I go to people and I want to say, I actually want, why don't I also get their home phone? Okay, whatever you've got in here is what's going to be published. So I can just update that publish. I can just update it. Okay, great. So then I've got that data feed. So then you just create something that will go and, every night go and grab this URL and pull the data down and put it into your external data system.